Hey everyone, my name is Stefan Kraus from Byte to Bytes, and in this video I'm going to introduce you to World Creator. I've created a nice sample here, and I'm going through every aspect in the sample. I'm not going too deep because we are going to create more specific tutorial videos for this, but based on this sample I'm going to explain a few things, at least those that we have used in that sample. Okay, so the first thing about this is World Creator here has three specific render modes. The one you see here is the high quality render mode. So this is everything where things like the sky, clouds and water will be rendered at a pretty good quality. The other render mode is the fast textured render mode. This mode is perfect if you're about to apply materials on your terrain and color your terrain. So there are no other things affecting it like shadows and sky and clouds and all that. So you really can concentrate on setting up your materials and see if they are properly aligned to everything else on the terrain. The other render mode is the madcap render mode. Well, this is the best one if you're about to create shapes, if you're designing shapes, because as you can see, there are no colors interfering with it, no sky, no clouds, nothing else, just a pure shape with a very good detail, so you can see how the shape, how the rocks, the formations, how the terrain, style, everything fits together, so it creates exactly what you want. Now, before we move on with these ones here, let me quickly switch to the high quality render mode, and let's start off with a few things here in the settings panel and here in the toolbar. So with the toolbar, this one here leads you to the World Creator main menu. This is where you're starting when you're running World Creator. There you can, for example, read the news, you can open your recent projects, load existing projects, and all those stuff you would do in any main menu of an application or in a game, something like that. It's actually just the same. Then you have new project, creates a new project. This one here lets you load an existing project. This one saves your current project. This one here saves an incremental of your current project, so it increments a value and saves it. This is a save as. Then this is the sync button, which syncs the current terrain that you created here with the World Creator bridges. So we have several bridge tools that are available for Houdini, for Blender, for Cinema 4D, for Unity and for Unreal. They're already working out of the box. And all you need to do is just to download them through your customer portal, import them in your favorite application, like example Unreal, and then use this sync button here to port this terrain over to your Unreal project. Here we have the screenshot button, allowing you to take a screenshot of the current render that you see here, and the about box showing some information about the company. So the next really important thing you need to know is about getting the documentation. So whatever layer you choose here, or whatever folder you choose here, as long as there are some settings available, there's a button here which leads you directly to the documentation related to the section you're looking at. So in this case, I was looking at the terrain settings in World Creator. It's exactly this one here. And this one leads me now to the documentation. So this is a really helpful to, if you get lost inside the application and you don't know what all these settings are, then just hit that button and you'll be redirected directly to the proper documentation page. Okay, so first in World Creator, things are organized in structures and biomes. So for this sample, I used only one single biome. We call it global, but you can set up as many biomes as you want and use the biomes to mask your terrain, apply filters, apply textures, and all that stuff. This is probably more interesting when you're designing really large worlds, because biomes then will become more interesting. But for this terrain here, because we just have actually just one biome type, we use just one biome. The biomes also will be covered in another tutorial video in depth. Okay, then each biome has filters and materials. In the next versions of World Creator that will appear in 2025, early 2025, there will be one more folder which will be called objects. So that one will allow you to populate real vegetation on your terrain, real looking houses and interiors and whatever you can just imagine. This will be possible with the next updates. But for now, we have filters and materials. So filters, what are filters? Filters are effectors. They are transforming your terrain. They are restyling your terrain depending on what you are trying to achieve. There are many filters around. Let me switch to the Madcap random mode so I can quickly show you what the filters are doing. Disable the materials for now. And I'm going to disable the filters here one by one so you can see the bare terrain, which has no filters applied yet. So this is like just designed, sculpted, or whatever. This is a pure terrain without any filters applied. Now I can apply filters using the plus icon here, and we have a live filter preview that you can turn on and off with this button here. And now these filters actually will transform your terrain, as you can see here, with different styles into a different terrain style and making things looking different. So there are many filters in World Creator. We have more than 56, I think, and each of them have different effects on your terrain, make it looking different. Whatever style you need, everything is possible. So, for instance, you could apply erosion filters. We have many different erosion filters here. We have also some arid filters over here. So making rocky terrains. You can also transform into terraces and all this stuff. So for this sample, I've created these filters to create the terrain that you see here. Of course, filters can be applied using masks. So for example, we have that basic erosion ridge filter, which is here. It has a distribution, and the distribution is a collection of further distributions and further layers that actually are algorithms that select specific regions on your terrain. Those distributions are used for filters and materials. So in this case, we have a height distribution. If I turn on the show heat map, you can see what areas on the terrain are affected. That is what a show heat map helps here. And the height here is set between these two values and smoothing out a little bit. And so it means that this filter, basic erosion, is applied upon a height which is above the line here. So everything which is red is being affected by the erosion filter. There are many different distribution possible. So we have noise distributions, we have layer distributions, which are for areas, for masks, for models, for paths, for polygons, for rivers, and for simulations. And then we have terrain-related distributions, such as angle 3D, cavity, curvature, flow, height, rocks, roughness, sea level, slope, steepness, and sun direction. And all these are really depending on how your terrain currently looks like. Okay, so this is about distributions. They work exactly the same for materials. There's no difference. You have exactly the same things. Which comes also handy for distributions is that you can apply effects on distributions. Now let me quickly show you some of these effects afterwards once we are coming to the materials. Okay, so this is about the filters for now. Filters can also be grouped here, as you can see. They can be reorganized. If you just select them and move them up and down, you can achieve different effects as well. You can organize them into folders. If you create a folder, put one filter into folder, and give this folder a name by double-clicking it. My folder. That way, you could, for example, organize all erosions filters into one single folder, all arid filters into one single folder, and so on. We don't need that. So now, if you're deleting layers, you can either do with the del key by just selecting the filter or whatever layer is located within these folder structures, or you just drag it out. If you drag it out, it will be deleted automatically. Okay, then another interesting thing about the filters, if you want to change filters, you don't have to remove them click plus and add and re-add them, because it wouldn't make sense if you already set up a pretty nice distribution stack that you don't want to change or reset up again. So that's why you have that change button here. If you click this one, you can replace that filter by any other filter that you have here in the list. We leave it as is. Okay, the next one are the materials. We're switching over to the materials tab here. The materials, there are many materials in this project, but of course there are also different materials available. Like you have colors, simple colors. You have gradients. The gradients like set maps, you can create them. We have some edit here. We'll cover them in a second. We have substance materials from Adobe that you can support, that you can load in and use to texture and apply materials on your terrain. And of course you can just use PBR textures as well. So materials are pretty easy. You're adding a color or whatever. In this case, this is a color. You can tint that material. You have metalness, roughness, and all these settings. For gradients, you have a bit more because you can set up gradients here. You can pick colors from existing images. You can simplify this gradient by, if I click this button, it will be simplified, reduced a little bit. You can clear it. You can use existing presets that were built in to change the gradient. You can also import a gradient. Like, let's see, I just changed it right now. Let's go back. I don't want that. We can import gradient images and we can also export gradients. Okay, so the next one would be like, let's take a look at the shape layers here. Let me go over to this rendering mode here. And now let's see what these shape layers here are. So we have different shape layers available in World Creator. If I click the plus button here, you see we have a sculpt layer, we have a stamp layer, procedural layer, primitive layer, and all these interesting things. Now what are these things doing? The sculpt layer, if you add that, it allows you to sculpt the terrain using two different methods. You can do a pixel-based sculpting. It's like simply drawing a terrain like you would do in any other painting application, or you could use a grid-based sculpting, which is exactly the same like in World Creator 2 with a custom base shape tool, but it extends it and gives you way more possibilities to create really nice shapes. The stamp layer. The stamp layer lets you import existing height maps and use them as stamps to stamp your terrain. So for example, you could import a stamp created by another terrain application, or import images from the internet like volcanoes and such things and use them to stamp your terrain and create, a completely different look. The interesting thing about stamp layers is that stamp layers can also import color maps. Those color maps are used for the materials as well, so they will color your terrain. Procedural layers let you procedurally generate things. So it's like a small generator inside World Creator. Procedural layers could be anything. It could be a volcano or whatever. We can actually just try it out if you want. I add a procedural layer and you can see here it creates a volcano. We support cliffs, craters, islands, single cracks, volcanoes. In a later build there will be more. And these procedural layers can be moved. As you can see, the area here is depicted by this rectangle here, and those can be scaled. You can rotate them and you can move them on the terrain. World Creator will adapt automatically to everything that you do without any interruption that much. So it's pretty easy to follow things and to change things. The generator takes care of it, everything. So these are procedural layers. Then we have primitive layers. They are creating simple primitives like a sphere or a donut or a polygon or whatever you can think of. We've implemented a lot of these things. The map tiler layer is a really cool layer, and I will cover this in a separate tutorial video, because this one lets you import real-world data through the map tiler service. And that real-world data, it's real Earth height maps, real Earth satellite maps. You can combine them with your existing terrain and blend them into each other, and it gives you a lot more possibilities to mix in interesting things from real world. The path layer. The path layer is actually what we have here with the trail and the valley. When we switch to the matcap render, and let's click here on edit so you can see the path. That would be a path layer. Interesting about a path layer is that I can move all these nodes and everything will change depending on what I've done. For example, I could for this trail I could do a width for the path. As you can see, it adapts automatically, and it also will adapt automatically the entire texturing process. Let's go back to the original value. I don't want to destroy the sample. Same for the valley. It's just a path actually, but I'm not using the path, this valley, to carve out the inner path. I'm using it for the outside path where the valley would be generated. Just to show you how it adapts as well in the real-time rendering thing here. If I'm going to increase it, World Creator is going to use the colors, regenerate things, and apply things new. Okay, now let's turn back to the original value here. Oh, this is also nice. I will probably keep this one here. Okay, now we have that shape here. This is actually nothing else but the sculpt layer. This one allows me to sculpt my terrain as I want. Okay, let's try it out. So, click on edit. Let's center it a little bit. And now we could use the brush tools, and these are the grid tools I was talking previously, that they are similar to those that we had in World Creator 2. So now let's just lower this part here and see how World Creator is going to do the job. It takes it up and regenerates. We could use also this tool here. If we just select these parts, if we hit the shift key, and if we move up or down, now this is what you probably know from World Creator 2. There's another option here that you can use. If you use the mouse wheel, you can see that there's a blending outside the selected areas. So if you want to affect the outside areas with the blending, you can use the mouse wheel. If you just want to have a very rough thing, then just use it and adapt the blending itself. Okay. Yes. Then we have, what else do we have? The polygon layer, just for simple polygon. This is good if you're creating about seas and lakes. We have the model layer, which is pretty nice. This allows you to import a 3D model along with its textures, place it on the terrain, but it will become part of the terrain. So it's not a real model in sense of it might be used to create overhangs or something like that. This will come with 2025, but this model is more like a completely mapped model on the terrain. So it becomes part of the terrain surface. It will be part of the height map, of the resulting height map. The rivers tool is really cool because this one generates rivers on the terrain. Those rivers will be automatically generated depending on how your terrain actually is set up. We can edit and see what happens. You see that now? The terrain has slightly changed. I've added the rivers. If I click edit, I can see the rivers. So World Creator calculated, depending on the height and the flow possibilities, where the streams will flow alike. And this is really realistic. And the really cool thing about this is you can replace them. You can just move them, replace them, change the river style, you can change the branching, you can clear the springs, you can add new springs, you can adjust the flows, you can make things wider, brighter, smaller, and all these, you know, it's really an incredible system, very powerful, but it's not possible to mention this, or let's say explain this in this tutorial video, in this introduction video. So we, of course, will do this in a separate tutorial video again. So let's move it out. Don't need it right now. So the shape layers are really, really powerful. They give you all possibilities to design exactly the terrain that you want. Okay, then we have mask layers. Now this is also pretty easy actually to understand. Masking, it's just like a you're adding a mask, you click here on edit and you can start painting on that mask, right? So it's more like if you want to, for example, use that mask to texture or apply textures or filter for on specific terrain, specific areas on your terrain, then you can use masks. And for example, we could just create a material here. I leave it with white and I'm going to edit distribution, going to layer, going to mask, and select the mask that I have created to be applied for that material. So everywhere where the mask was painted, that material will be applied on the mask. So this will also works for the filters. Okay, we can remove them, don't need them anymore. Good. Now, yes, we have these simulation layers. So currently, if you're adding a simulation using Add Simulation, then choose the simulation. You can choose what kind of simulation you want to do. You want a debris simulation, a fluid, sand, or snow simulation. Later, we're gonna have lava and glaciers too. Now, these simulation layers are really, really impressive. First of all, let's say you're having a sand simulation. Then this is where sand is applied on your terrain. You see these red marks here. This is the mask that I painted. I just painted in because I wanted to apply sand over here and here. And what World Creator does is it simulates sand's flow. So if I drop sand here, the sand will slip off and distribute along, along the flow of the sand. This is, for example, what we've done here with this here. This is sand, actually. All these parts here. We're done with the sand simulation. Now, the same for the rocks here that you see on the terrain. We have this debris simulation that lets you create amazing effects using debris. You can create rocks. You can use, for instance, you could use, where is it? You can use, here the shape. You can use existing textures like height maps to be used as the debris, or you can import a model file along with these textures to be placed. So the coloring of your model will be taken into the color map of World Creator. That means if you have a real scan color or a real scan model and you import that, then World Creator will use that as the debris for populating it on the terrain. Yeah, there are a few more things here to set up. It's really impressive. So this is quite a more complicated thing. So we will cover this in another tutorial as well. Then you have that scene settings here. You can adjust the sun and all these things you can think of here. It's a pretty good thing. You can also load in environment maps and use them for environment lighting here. If I enable that button, lighting will change. I would have to adapt it and see how it would look like, but you can see depending on the map, environment lighting will change drastically. Under terrain settings, you can set up the soil color here. You can add a ground plate or just leave it. You can change the ground plate colors. You have that environment tab for adjusting the clouds as well. Same for water, for the atmosphere effect. You have cameras. You can create cameras in World Creator. So for example, if I'm moving to whatever location like this, and I'm adding a camera, that camera is saved automatically to that location. You have seen that the rendering has drastically changed automatically because this camera has a different settings than the main camera. If I want to use the settings of the main camera, just click here and we get the rendering back. Now each time you want to jump back to that camera, it would be the number of that camera. So in this case, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 will be the camera that we created. This is my third, this is my second, and this is my first camera. Then we have these export things here. What's important to notice is when you open a new project, or if you're just creating a new project, this export is empty. Just because how does it work? You have to first add an export preset. You can name that preset to whatever preset you want. For example, if you're doing Unreal projects, then you might use it and call it like Unreal preset. Into that Unreal preset, there are no current exports added yet. So you need to add exports like a height map. You need to add something like a color map, maybe a splat map, a normal map, and all these maps. You can adjust for every single map what kind of format you want to have, how it should behave, should it be cut or not, should it be tiled, should it be not tiled, and so on. You can export map by map. If you want, for example, just export a height map, click export. If you want to export a color map, click export. If you want to export everything all at once, click the preset and click export. Then we have presets in World Creator. This is like if you're setting up something interesting like materials that have really good distribution and whatever, you can just drag and drop them into any folder of your choice. For example, you could go to the material folder, you could set up this is my preset here, my preset folder, and then just drag and drop that material into that preset folder and it will be stored there. So if you are restarting a new project, you can always rely on those presets that you built. You can just move them in just by dragging out and move them in, and it will apply, automatically appear and apply on your terrain. We did some presets here for rocks and forests and sediments, so you can use them as well. You can do presets for everything, for filters, for biomes. You can see that here, for brushes, even for matcap renders. For exports, you can do presets for exports as well. So set up your export once, make them perfect that they work with the application of your choice, store them as a preset. You will never have to do that job again. Okay, then under options, there are a few things like you can change the language, you could scale the interface here, you can set the target frames per second, and all these stuff. Also, like a temporary directory, you can set it to another location if you're running low space on your main disk drive. Controls are currently not highly configurable. This will be coming, but for now you can adjust the camera movement speed, rotation speed, and all this. For the generator, we have something like the real-time generator, filter live preview. These are also available here with the toolbar. There are a few more things. Just check the documentation to see what they are each of these things are doing it. Then the graphic settings. You can set up the topo map, the colors. You can actually define everything necessary regarding rendering, specifically for rendering, and how things should appear. For map tiler, I'm not clicking because there's a token already included, but if you are running map tiler and you want to apply real world data on your terrains, then you need to configure map tiler. That would actually mean that you go to the map tiler website, you register up to their map tiler service. It's a paid service. I think they also have a demo or a free service. Then you log into their account, take a token and put the token into this option here on the map tiler. Once the token is in, World Creator is connecting it automatically with your system, and you can use the map tiler features here in World Creator as well. Okay, so that's it for now. I hope this helped you to get a quick overview of our World Creator, about the new things that we put in and what's already possible. It's a good starting point probably to experience your, or to make your own experience with World Creator and trying to build terrains. Okay, make sure to watch the next tutorial videos. Regarding this sample, I'm going to do one more video, which is also creating exactly that sample totally from scratch. So the blank terrain, as you would see when you start World Creator, up to this terrain once you're done. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a great day and bye-bye.